Well, good morning, Humanity Church. How are we doing today? Good. It's an exciting day. We're going to be baptizing at least 4 people at the end of our gathering. 2 of them belong to me, which is wonderful. And we did make sure the water was warm this time, so we're good. And I will just say this, if you're here and you have not yet been baptized and you're like, hey, I'm thinking about that, or I've made that decision to follow Jesus, we would love to baptize you. So be thinking about that. We have every excuse covered. So we have all the shirts, all the pants, all the towels, everything for you today. And we'd love to just baptize you if that's what you're up to today. The other thing that I'm really excited to announce this morning, how many of you were with us earlier this year when we did our very first Thin Space worship night? Man, okay, if you were not with us, that night was just unbelievable. It was so powerful. It was so moving. It was so meaningful. And we do a lot of really cool things here at Humanity Church. And I remember that night standing right here as that thing was ending, just like in awe of what was taking place in our space here. And so we are hosting our second Thin Space, October 5th, which is in 2 weeks, which we're very excited about. Now, if you're still like, what is that? October 5th, we will not be having a Sunday morning gathering here, all right? So go to brunch, do whatever you need to do, all the things that other people do or that you do on the weeks that you're not here. So do that, and then come here at 6:30. But come with some people. This is an opportunity to invite friends, family, neighbors. It's a powerful night of just music and prayer and connecting with one another. I'm telling you, the stories that we heard after Thin Space were unbelievable. We had one guy who just found it on Facebook, came and like walked away physically healed as a result of being here together. Yeah, we had multiple people who were like, hey, my marriage is about to fall apart, and came and things were put back together. It was just a powerful evening. And here's the thing that I'm thinking about, that I've been praying through, that I've been just on my mind since we put Thin Space on the calendar, is that there is a responsibility as a community when we have something this beautiful and powerful and precious. Like if God was like, hey, here, I'm trusting you with something so profound as a night where we come together and my presence shows up, we don't get to take that lightly. We don't get to say, oh, that maybe I'll come, we'll see, I might be tired. No, it's like, okay, we together get to facilitate that and bring people into this space. And so over the next 2 weeks, my challenge to us as a community is that we would not just be like, great, I'm not going to church that Sunday, we'll be there Sunday night, but that we would be praying for that night. We would be thinking through, who are we bringing in? Who's going to be a part of that night? Let's pack this place out with people who are going to experience Jesus either for the first time or for the first time in a long time, and just elevate him in that conversation. So I'm excited. Thin Space, October 5th, in 2 Sundays. If you show up here in the morning, you can grab a cafe and then come back at 6:30, all right? Well, let me pray for us as we dive in this morning. Jesus, thank you for your presence here. Thank you, gosh, for the powerful time of worship as we elevated you. Thank you for showing up and setting us free in the process. And thank you for just all the work that you're doing through Humanity Church in Thailand and Ukraine and around the globe, God, that our community might continue to ripple out and impact so many. Would you continue to call us up into the women and men that you have designed us to be, that you long for us to be, so that we might fully own the calling on our lives. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Well, if you didn't get the hint, we're in a series called Called and Assigned, where we're taking a look at the calling that is on our lives and the assignment that we have in front of us. Because as we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks, all of us have this core question that lives inside of us that asks, what am I supposed to do with my days? What am I supposed to invest my life into? What is the calling on my life? What am I supposed to put all of my effort, my energy, my time, my resource in? And I want to lay down the foundation for where we've been so that we can build upon it. Because if we don't lay the foundation, it's nearly impossible to build upon where we're headed. See, the scriptures tell us to live a life worthy of the calling that you have received. So here's the thing. We know that you have a calling. If you're in this room, you are called. Congratulations. Hopefully, You knew that? If you didn't, congratulations. Now you have a calling on your life. It's been there from the moment you were born. You were called. And we also know that this calling is powerful, it's beautiful, it's meaningful, or else he would not have to say, live a life worthy of the calling that you have received. He would just say, go live your calling. You know, it's not that big a deal. It's simple. Just go do it. But he says, live a life worthy that will match the elevation of the calling that is on your life. Which means that when Jesus calls us, he does not call us out for how broken we are, or how awful we are, or how messed up our lives are. He actually calls us up into a life that is elevated beyond what we could manifest on our own, beyond what we could create on our own. And so your job is actually not to, quote unquote, discover your calling. People use that language all around us. And since I've been engaging in this conversation, I hear it everywhere. People are like, well, I'm just trying to figure out where God's calling me. I'm just trying to figure out what my call on my life is. I'm like, no, that's already been answered for you. Congratulations. So all the energy that you've put into figuring that out has already been answered for you. You have already been given the calling. We share one calling. In the scriptures, when it talks about being called, it's not like this person has this calling and this person has this calling. No, there is just a calling that we either respond to or we don't. And last week we talked about this 3 parts of this calling that we must answer. The first part is, will I follow Jesus? The first calling on your life is follow me from Jesus. Will you follow him and will you become more like him? And the second thing is, if we're going to follow him, we're going to do what he does. And what he does is asks people to follow him. And so we then become voices of hope in the world around us. We actually become agents of beauty, inviting people into a life of following Jesus. And so we collectively do what he did and what he is doing, which is inviting people to follow him. And the third thing is this: we don't do it alone. That we are a part of this movement known as the church, that collectively we are helping to bring beauty in the world together. So if you look at this calling, you think, this is too big, this is too much, this seems like a lot. Congratulations, it is, and you don't have to do it alone. Have you ever like been afraid to do something, so then you call some buddies to do it with you, or you call some friends and say, can we do this together? And then all of a sudden it doesn't feel as scary. This is the invitation that Jesus gives us. He's like, look, you are to follow me, which is a big risk in and of itself. And then he says, you are now to go do what I do, which is to invite people to follow me, which can seem even more riskier, to go up to your coworker or to go up to your friend or a family member and say, hey, would you follow Jesus? He says, look, you don't have to do it alone. You actually have a whole community of people that you get to do this together with. And that is the last part of this calling, is that we are called to build up and to equip this movement known as the church so that we can do this together. And when you lay this as the foundation for your life, when you're like, I know what I'm called to, I don't have to think about it, it makes your decision-making really easy because you just run it through that filter. Am I following Jesus? Am I helping others follow Jesus? And am I doing it collectively in community? Yes? No? Great. And it takes all that unresolved energy that lives inside of us and allows it to focus in on that calling. I love when my life is focused. Anyone else with me? Every Sunday I've started just taking a look at my calendar, and if there is any ounce of empty space, I fill it with something. Not just for busy work. Sometimes it's like sleep, right? Sometimes it's like cook dinner. Sometimes it's drive home. But here's the beautiful thing. When I wake up every morning, I just pull up my phone, and it tells me what I'm doing that day. I don't have to think, do we have something this week? Isn't that the worst feeling, right? Didn't we have something tonight? Or who's making dinner? Or aren't we supposed to meet with that person? Nope, the calendar already tells me. Now there's this other thing that we use, this crazy thing called a budget. And I know some of you, like, that might be a new concept, but every month, Marla and I put together our budget before we even get any money. We know exactly where every single penny is going to be spent. And here's the great thing. If we want to buy something, guess what? We just look at the budget. Do we have money? Yes, no, great. And it informs us how we spend our money through the week because we've already known how everything is going to be allotted. See, when you own your calling on your life, it eliminates a lot of decisions for you because you already know where to spend your energy and how to give yourself and where you need to focus your time and your money and your resources. No longer are you stressed out trying to figure out what is my calling. You know what you were made for, and you can sharpen that. Now, here's the thing. Here at Humanity, we have a very high value for uniqueness and creativity and for individualization. And so I know for some of you, up until this point, this whole series has been a little cringe, right? Because you're like, don't tell me I have the same calling as everyone else. I am chronically unique, you know. And in fact, even our vision statement at Humanity Church is this: to be a spiritual reference point, unleashing divine uniqueness and setting humanity free to make their mark, right? So that is actually our vision, that we would be a spiritual reference point for the region and that we would release people to discover their divine uniqueness, not their divine, everyone has the same, right? And that they would go make their mark on the world. Now, when we talk about this, everyone has the same calling, it sounds like what we're saying is we're making robots just do the calling, right? It sounds antithetical to this vision of releasing people to know their divine uniqueness and to make their mark on the world. So how does this jive with the fact that we are all creative and unique? How does this universal calling jive with the fact that every single one of us has a unique mark that we were made to make on the world? Last week I got to do something fun. I always try to do things that are going to improve my communication skills, my training skills, some of the things that I coach with. So last week I took an improv comedy class. Super fun. Loved doing it. It was super fun. And here's the thing, that in this improv comedy class, one of the first things that they teach you is until you learn the basics, you cannot riff from the basics. And they said everyone wants to come in and be funny. Everyone wants to come in and they want to get the laugh, they want to be funny, they want to be the guy who's like, whose line is it anyway, and make everyone crack up. And he said that is not where you need to start. You need to know the foundations, and once you get the foundations down, then you can build on it. And he gives us all these foundations that he's like, you have to master these first. One of the core foundations in improv comedy is this idea of yes and. So when your partner in a scene says something, your response always should be yes, and. So you're building on what they give you. Now, new improvisers who think that they want to be funny, they do a no but. And so oftentimes someone will say, hey, we're getting married. And the other person say, no, we're not. We're going to Mars. Right? And they think they're trying to be funny, but it never is actually funny, right? But if you're going to learn improv, you actually have to know the basics. So if someone says, hey, we're getting married, and the other person might say something like, yes, and maybe it'll turn out this time, right? Now that's funny because you're playing off of what the other person said. You're not doing a no but in that. You have to go through it. Now, here's the thing. Once you have these foundations down, then you can play with them. Then you can add some spice, then you can add your own flavor, then you can bring your personality into it. But until you have these foundations down, everything else falls flat. Same thing with communication. When I teach communication, there are basic foundations that you must learn before you can actually become a great communicator. And until you have those foundations down, your communication will fall flat every single time. But once you get those foundations down, then you can play with things like tone and mood and energy and body placement and how you actually read a room. All of those things are super fun. But until you have the foundations down, nothing else works. And once they become second nature to you, then you can step onto the fun stuff. See, here's the thing. Knowing your calling and owning it and having then it own you is step one. Once you have that down, once you have just decided, all right, I am here to follow Jesus and I am here to help make followers of Jesus and I am here to do that collectively with this movement known as the church. Once you have that down, you have a foundation to launch something really profound and beautiful from. There's this passage in Ephesians chapter 2. Right after Paul is talking about calling, he says this in Ephesians chapter 2, starting in verse 10. He says, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Now, I like this translation. It says, you are God's handiwork. Some other translations say, you are God's masterpiece. You are his artwork that he is showing off to the world. So the person sitting next to you is actually God's divine artwork, his masterpiece. Just turn to the person next to you and say, you look good, you look good. You're a masterpiece. You're a masterpiece, because that is what the scriptures say here. So we know our calling as our foundation, and we know that we are a masterpiece. We're a masterpiece created to do good works in the world. So what does that actually mean? Now, on TikTok, which I don't watch, there's... theoretically, if I had an algorithm, for a while, the theoretical algorithm would have been showing me all these medical students who are graduating from medical school. And there's this cool thing that happens when someone graduates medical school. They're doctors, and then they're going on to their internship or they're going on to their residency. They have this moment, apparently, where they all get together, and they've applied to different locations and schools and fields, and they all get these letters together that tell them where they're going to be assigned. And so they're all there, and they're in a room, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, now everyone open your letters. And people are like, oh, God, I'm going to Michigan State, and I'm going to be in oncology. And I don't know why they're like a mouse. But and another person's like, oh, man, I'm going to Florida, and I'm going to be studying in the ER. And another person's like, oh, I got nothing, right? And so they're all like amped up because they finally get their assignment about where they're headed, and now they're ready to go take all of the same training that they've had. All of them have the exact same medical training, and now they're going to go specialize in these fields, doing the exact same thing in different forms and different locations with different people all around them. In the same way that we have the same calling on all of our lives, there's the same training necessary, there's the same mindset necessary, there's the same heart necessary. God actually then sends us out on specific assignments that are on our lives. God actually says, now I'm actually going to take you and the calling that you have, that everyone else around you has, and I'm going to send you out on a specific assignment now that you've owned your calling in this. And this is oftentimes where people get hung up. Because wouldn't it be nice if God just handed you an envelope? Wouldn't that be nice? And it was like, you're supposed to live in Ontario, and you're supposed to minister to the baristas of Ontario. Got it. Cool, right? I can do that, right? You're supposed to go start a business in LA, and you're supposed to do, that would be awesome if God does that, but he doesn't do this, and this is where people get paralyzed in this conversation around what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to give my life to? What is the assignment that is on my life specifically? Now, I want to go to this place in Corinthians where Paul is talking to the Corinthians, and they have this little predicament where all of a sudden there's this temple who has been, they bring in meat that's sacrificed to idols, right? And they have this moment of conscience because they're thinking, should I eat that steak or not? Because it's really cheap, because the temple's selling it, but it was also just like sacrificed to an idol. So I don't know if I eat this, am I like just eating a really good ribeye, or am I eating a demon? I don't know, right? So they're trying to figure out what they should do, and they go to Paul, and they're saying, what should we do about the meat? And this is what he says in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, starting verse 23. He says, I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. Eat anything sold in the meat market without raising questions for conscience, for the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. If an unbeliever invites you to a meal and you want to go, eat whatever is put before you without raising questions of conscience. But, if someone says to you, this has been offered to sacrifice, then don't eat it, both for the sake of the one who told you and for the sake of the conscience. I'm referring to the other person's conscience, not yours. For why is my freedom being judged by another's conscience? Now, if I take part in the meat with thankfulness, why am I to denounce because of something I thanked God for? Now, here's the thing. None of us are struggling with what meat to eat, right? None of us are like, should we go to Carl's Jr. or to Chili's afterwards? That's not a question, right? Who has the best meat? But the attitude and the question that the Corinthians were living in still lives within us. Because here's the thing. I have found that people who call themselves followers of Jesus tend to want to over-moralize the decisions that they're in front of. And so I have people that are often in turmoil about what they should do. Like, does God want me to be a teacher or a mechanic? I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. I mean, I don't know what the assignment is on my life. Does God want me to go to serve in Thailand, or am I supposed to serve with the homeless in Pomona? Does God want me to buy the home, or does he want me to rent the home? Does God want me to eat the Cheerios or the Wheaties? What should I do, right? And I'm not joking. There are some people who get down into the granular, and they're just at the toothpaste aisle asking God, what toothpaste am I assigned to this week, right? And we get all up in arms about the assignment that's on our lives. And then we get this anxiety around paralysis of choice, like as if I choose path A. Path A just has blessings and fulfillment and all the resources that I need, and it has all the people that are there for me, and I'm going to live a life of abundance and happiness. And path B, there's just death. And God's like, choose, but I'm not going to tell you, right? And oftentimes, that's how people relate to this assigning conversation when God invites them into this. But here's actually the answer. After he goes through this whole meat thing, he actually gives us the answer here. He says this in verse 31. He says, so whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Do not cause anyone to stumble, whether Jews, Greek, or the church of God, even as I try to please everyone in every way, for I am not seeking my own good, but the good of many, so that you may be saved. Yeah, do you have those people in your life that are what I call whatever people? You know, and here's a whatever person. You're like, hey, where do you want to go to lunch? And they're like, whatever. Like, that's not very helpful, right? That's not very helpful in the decision-making process over here. What do you want to do tonight? Whatever, you know? Like, they're just whatever people. You know, they're like, what do you want to watch on TV? Whatever. Now, usually they don't mean whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right? Because you say whatever, and they're like, okay, let's go to Olive Garden. Olive Garden, that's so gross. Well, don't say whatever then, right? But the interesting thing is Paul is telling us that God seems like a whatever guy. He's like a whatever guy. In fact, if I was to distill down into simple terms what Paul is saying to us about this concept of calling an assignment, it's this: love God and do what you want. That what if all life boiled down to that? Love God, and out of that, out of your relationship with Him, go do what you want. See, because I wonder if God is actually less concerned about what you do as He is about the who and the why. See, because in this, what He is saying is, look, whatever you do, just do it to glorify God. So that's the why. So the why has been answered for us. Does it glorify me? Great, go do that. Does that make you feel good? Awesome, great. As long as it glorifies me. And who is this for? Well, anyone that doesn't know Him. Anyone that does not yet see God, go elevate Him to the people around you. See, God is not probably going to say to you, you chose what career? You went into marketing? Oh, man, the whole plan's ruined. We're done. There's nothing we can do about this. I guess you will live out your days, retire, and then we'll figure out something over there. I'm going to preach right now because I have people come to me all the time. There's moments where we're like, hey, we have a need in kids ministry, and we'll ask someone, and they'll be like, let me pray about that. As if God's like, don't teach those children. I don't want you to teach those. Don't teach those. They don't need you to teach them. We're going to mess it up if you teach them, right? As if God's going to come down and say, no, you're supposed to be an usher. Don't teach those children, right? And then again, of course, we go into you chose vanilla ice cream. You were supposed to choose chocolate ice cream. I don't know what you were thinking about this, and now all the calories are off, whatever it may be. And so we ask God, what do you want me to do? And He's like, whatever. Just glorify me. Just glorify me. Whatever you're doing, just glorify me. Should I eat? Sure, glorify me. Should I drink? Sure, glorify me. Should I serve here? Should I work here? Should I do this? Yeah, just glorify me so that other people can actually see how good I am in the middle of this. See, I wonder if I need to pray about this as just religious jargon for I don't want to do that. I wonder if it's just religious jargon for, hey, I don't want to do this, and I don't want to let you know. So I'll blame God for the decision. Because who's to argue with God when God says, don't teach those children? God told me not to teach those children. What am I supposed to say, right? Well, God's wrong? See, I oftentimes think that we use this as a cop-out for not actually taking action, for not actually living the life that we were called to live. Because Paul is clear. God's like, whatever you do, whatever you do, whether you eat or you drink, just do it all for the glory of God. But please, for the literal love of God, do something. Do something with your life. Are you elevating God, or are you sitting there waiting for some divine inspiration which he has already given you? See, there's never a moment where God will have you just sit back and wait. He has already given you the calling. And you actually get to decide on some level what the assignment is on your life. But then there's this other antithetical thing too, the just do whatever thing. Because in 1 Peter 4, starting in verse 7, this is what the scriptures say to us. It says, the end of all things is near. And I've never believed that more than the last 2 weeks. Therefore, be alert and of sober mind that you may pray. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Each of you should use whatever gifts you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. To him be the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen. Have you ever wondered why God made 7 billion unique human beings? Like he created us with different personalities and different physical characteristics and even different DNA, different talents, different abilities, different ideas, different ways that we operate in the world around us. See, he could have all made us the same, and that would have probably been easier, wouldn't it? I mean, we all just were the same size, you know? We all just looked the same. It could cut out a lot of comparison, a lot of racism, a lot of prejudice, a lot of comparison. We would have just woken up. There would just be one store with one size, you know, and we would just go pick your outfit. Fits everyone, right? Or it would make sense if it was like, well, everyone could be on the outside the same, but everyone on the inside is different. Like, we can just have one model, and then that would make sense. Everyone's different on the inside, but he doesn't. He's like, we need 7 billion different varieties of this species, right? I mean, squirrels kind of all look the same, right? Mice kind of generally look the same. But humans, like, no, we need like 7 billion different versions of this one over here. See, what if God needed 7 billion different unique versions of humanity, of images, because he needed that many people to actually represent the vastness of who God is? Yeah. That if we carry within us a thin slice of who God is, that if God himself is saying, take this uniqueness in all of its various forms and go use it, he actually needs 7 billion different representations of him to fully express who he is to the world around us. And that you have unique gifts, and you have unique talents, and you have unique abilities, and you have a past of things that you've experienced and not experienced, and wounds and pains that all get to be used together as a way to give back to the world, that you actually get to be a guardian over the gift that God has made you to be for the world. And you get to live out this unique expression of the calling that we all have. And so he says, look, some of you are going to speak, and so those of you who are speaking, speak. And those of you who have gifts to teach, you ought to teach. And those of you who have gifts for hospitality, go be hospitable to people. And those who have the gift of giving, give. And those of you who are serving, go serve. And he says, I have all these different unique expressions of grace that I've placed inside of you. So go give that. See, the calling is to elevate God with our lives. That is the collective. But there is a unique assignment that is on your life that is different from the person sitting next to you. And I know that because you look radically different from the person sitting next to you. Trust me, I can see. And you have different experiences and different gifts and different abilities. And so it would make sense that God would say, go give this unique expression of me away to the world. And so while our calling is shared, our assignment is discerned. Our assignment is discerned. So on one hand, God's like, go do whatever you want, as long as you love me. As long as you're elevating me, just keep that the main thing. Go do what you want. So on one hand, I don't think God's going to be like really upset if you decided I'm going to go sell everything and move to Bangladesh and go share the word there. God's not going to be like, really messed up the plan. At the same time, there is a unique assignment on your life that he longs to allow you to step into. Now, I love the self-awareness movement that's been taking place over the last several years. I've been trained in several assessments, and I love that people are like, I want to take my Strengths Finder, and I want to take my Myers-Briggs, and I want to take my DISC profile, and I want to take my Enneagram, and I want to, and then people come up and they're like, well, I'm an ENFJ, Enneagram 7, and a Purple Otter, and all these things. They have all these different ones that people talk about, and here's the thing: people think that the point of all this is so that they can know themselves. Like now I've reached a level of personal enlightenment and awareness that I can elevate myself above others because I know who I am. I've discovered who I am, folks. And let me just tell you, that's not the point. Who cares that you know yourself? You can take that and $1 and you'll have $1, right? It actually doesn't matter if you know yourselves. See, the only reason why you would ever need to know yourself, the only reason why you would need to ever discover your strengths or your Enneagram or your Myers-Briggs or your personality profile is to know what is the unique assignment on my life that I can go give fully with everything inside of me and all the unique talents and gifts and abilities that are there. And we're gonna talk about that next week of what it looks like to own the full package that you are. To own everything that lives there with you and stepping into it. But when you take all of your gifts and your talents and your abilities and also all of your past wounds and your past hurts and the things that you've been through and not been through and all of the failures in life, and God takes all of it and we're like, all right, what is the assignment? He then takes all that and uses it for good. See, then he's like, I'll take all of that, and now I will give you an assignment on your life that will be used for beauty and hope and a future. Look, I started speaking at a very, very early age. And early on, I started realizing, when I communicate, it impacts people. There's like a pattern that I notice here. That when I speak, it moves a room, or there's times where I can put complex ideas into simple terms so people can understand them, or that when I'm in front of people, I'm not horrified out of my mind. It's actually really exciting, and I'm like, how can we move this space here? And so then I spent 20 years of my life in intense training and coaching and development in spaces that were incredibly, incredibly just like a pressure cooker for communication and coaching and training. And here's the thing. I know now that every single time I walk into a room, something's going to happen. There's not a doubt in my mind about that. And that's not because of how awesome I am. That's because early on, I noticed, there's an assignment on my life that I get to own, that I get to hone in, that I will spend all of my time and my energy and my resources honing in, not so that I can stand on stages and do cool things, but so that God can be elevated wherever I go. But it took years to discover and hone in and craft that assignment so that now when I walk into a room, I'm dangerous rather than ambivalent about whatever's taking place around me. But did you ever get assignment envy on people? You know what I'm talking about? You're like, man, God gave them a cool assignment. I'm over here teaching kids, right? Which, by the way, is our most important ministry at Humanity Church, hands down. But let's be honest. You ever look at what someone's doing, you're like, I want to do what they do. That's way sexier than my assignment, right? Like, that is it, man. Sometimes I'm out here and I watch Tim lead worship and I'm like, dang. Why can't I lead worship like that? That's crazy, right? I'm like, can we switch? Can we switch over here? I hear about Gabriel and Yana teaching kids, and I'm like, man, I wish I could have impact on kids like that. They're like the Pied Piper of the 4th and 6th and 3rd and 4th grade. I'm like, man, I wish I could teach like that, right, over there. I watch when people live into their call. I watch when Michael Concio's on a soundboard. It's like Michelangelo painting, right? And I'm like, man, I wish I could do that with a soundboard. I can make noise go up and down. I can't do what he does right over there. I watch when Frank gets someone who's just fresh out of addiction and brings them in and helps them find sobriety. I'm like, how do you do that? Which, by the way, it's his birthday today. But But I watch, and I get assignment envy because I'm like, why do they get that assignment? That's cooler than mine. That's so awesome. You know, one of the fastest way to get over assignment envy is just to discover your assignment and give everything into it. Just start pouring yourself into it, honing yourself, giving your life to it. And the moment you will do, you will know what it feels like to have the weight of heaven behind your life, and it will be breathtaking. See, it's always sexy to watch someone doing what they're doing over there because they're just fully living into the assignment on their life. They're just fully owning it. And when you step into your assignment, when you're like, I own this, I own our calling, I own my assignment, you will see God move in and through you like you've never seen him before. See, most of the time, God says, whatever, do whatever. So here's the thing. Here's the rubric. When in doubt, do whatever. Love God and do whatever, all right? That's the first part is most important. Love God, do whatever. Let that inform the whatever that you're doing on the other side. But there are specific seasons and arenas in your life where God will say, here is your specific assignment for you, that when you step into it, the full weight of heaven is behind you, and it requires you keeping your ears and eyes open to what God is doing in you and through you and what he has given you and the unique expression of grace that he has placed on your life. And when you step into assignments, others will start to see God in you and through you. They will start to experience God, not because he showed up in a white light in their bedroom or in a dream, because you showed up with your full calling and the full assignment on your life. And look, sometimes assignments are like lifelong assignments that God's like, you're just going to do this for the rest of your life. And there are other times where God's like, I have a season for you. I have an assignment for this moment for you. I remember a few years ago at Humanity, I came to our team and I kept waking up thinking, we need a live stream. We need a live stream. And I'm like, this is so weird. Why do we need a live stream? But I was like, I think we need a live stream. And I started like researching live streaming and all this stuff. And at the time, Jeremy Whaley was a guy on our team, and he was like a live streaming expert. So I'm like, could we do this? Could we get a camera? Could we get internet in here? So we started putting live streaming. And in my head, I'm like, this is a weird assignment, God. Like, I don't understand why this is the thing, right? But November of that year, we got our live streaming up, and it was cool because we had like one person watch us every week. And someone's like, oh, I found this thing online. It's called a live stream, and we watched you online. And I was like, great. I was like, we got to keep on live stream. Every week, I'm like, is the live stream up? Is it working? And they're like, yes, the one person's still watching us, right? And so we just kept building and kept building. And then that was November of 2019, and the world shut down 5 months later. And we instantly went from 1 viewer to 146 viewers because we were shut down. Now, I didn't understand that assignment. I was like, live stream? I mean, this was people were like, what's a live stream, right? Now it's everywhere. But back then, people were like, what is this? And look, had I looked at that assignment and been like, this is stupid, live streaming, why am I doing this? We would have missed the movement that God was preparing us for. See, there's an assignment on your life that might not even make sense right now. It might not even be like this. I don't feel equipped for this. I don't know how this is going to come out. And God is preparing you for something so much more beautiful, something beyond what you could even imagine for what is coming. See, most people will live their lives with a whole lot of action and very little traction in their lives. They will spend their days moving their wheels and putting things on their calendar and spending their money, and they will make big plans and do fun things and go on adventures and have Instagram reels of vacation pictures, and they will never know what it is like to live an assigned life. They will never know the weight of heaven behind them as they move into humanity with the calling and the assignment on their lives. One of my greatest pleasures, when some people ask me, what's your greatest pleasure in life besides my wife and my kids, it is knowing my assignment and just giving myself fully to that, because when I'm in those spaces, I can feel the full weight of heaven and God behind me. And I know that someone is going to be moved to see God in those moments, because when you are living in your calling and you are living in your assignment, it is undeniable. And once you accept that this is what God has laid out in front of you, when you're like, God, we are called Don't have to think about that. And there is an assignment on your life. The default assignment is love God and do whatever. And then as you continue on, he will hone in that assignment. He will whisper into your ears. He will remind you of who you are. He will pull out talents that you never knew were there. He will take woundings from your past that you thought were just wastelands, and he will turn them into the gold that you minister through. And he will start honing in your life, and your life will become a living, breathing source of the grace of God everywhere that you go, elevating him to the world around you. And you will not know what hit you because you have been called and assigned. So the question is, will you answer our call that he has given to us as a community? And will you take up your assignment? For the love of God, literally do anything that will move God into a place where he is elevated and he is seen in the world around you. And you will get to live the life that was made only for you. That when God decided there needed to be a unique expression of you on the planet, it was because he had a plan for the world to see him through the unique expression and assignment that is you. Would you just bow your heads for a moment? I just want to pray for our community, because I know there are some of you in this room who may just be, man, I don't even know, this feels confusing. Like, now I got to go figure out my assignment. And maybe you've even recognized, I've just been sitting back waiting for God to do something, and I have not answered the call to love me and do whatever, literally. Let the loving of me inform your whatever over there. And today, I just want to pray that God would light a fire in your heart today, like a holy urgency to step into the assignment that he has made for you. And today, if you have not yet connected to Jesus, man, you are about to experience an amazing wild ride of a life, because there is a calling on your life, an assignment on your life that he wants you to step into. And if today you have not yet connected to Jesus, this is your moment. Or maybe you realize that, man, I've been distant from him for a long time and I need to step back into that. If that's you this morning, would you just raise your hand and say, I want to follow Jesus today. I want to connect to him. I want to decide that. Awesome. Who else in the room? Awesome. I want you just to pray this very simple prayer. Jesus, I give you my life. That's it. I give you my life. I surrender it. He'll do the rest.